So needless to say, all the Americans are way away from Florida. But they're sucking in all those British and European tourists that aren't privy to this information. This ocean right now is the most toxic ocean in the world. 1.1 million barrels of Corexit have been sprayed onto this slick. It is totally unbelievable. I mean, this is this wonderful artwork from a wonderful guy called Dave Dees, who's a brilliant satirist, and his artwork says so much. Go take a look at his website, deesillustration.com. He's been doing this for a few years now. Funnily enough, he doesn't live in the US anymore. So you get a postcard from Florida, or a photograph from Florida. Don't expect it to be the usual happy photograph. I think people are going to realize very, very quickly when they get to the West Coast what they've walked into. And they'll be itching to get out of there. Because many people have left Florida. I mean, many people have actually taken the initiative and moved north. Because they're right there. They can see what's going on. They're not waiting, for the invisible effects of Corexit or benzene. Because these are gases. You don't see it. You've got kids bathing in the water, and somebody sent me an email from Florida the other day and said, Ian, this is outrageous. We've got children running around on the beaches with oil on their feet. And their parents are just letting them do it. And this is another reason, by the way, that you shouldn't go to Florida. This is actually issued within Florida, and it's making tourists aware that there's a new law in the Sunshine State which authorizes nervous or frightened residents to use deadly force. In Florida, avoid disputes. Use special caution in arguing with motorists on Florida roads. Police and prosecutors are concerned about the potential for unnecessary violence. But the law allows Florida residents to shoot first and ask questions later. And you thought Texas was the Wild West. And last week, Michelle Obama came out with a classic, an absolute classic. She said, we've got to support the Florida economy, and we encourage all Americans to take their vacation in Florida. So she was asked where she was going, and she said, we're going to Maine. Now, Maine is not only about as far away as you can get from Florida, up the east coast of the United States, it's about as far away as you can get from the Gulf Stream. Because the Gulf Stream will take the oil out, take it around Florida, and it'll take it up the east coast, up to what's known as the Carolina Bumps, which is where the Gulf Stream starts to head out across the Atlantic. That's why north of the Carolina Bumps, you occasionally actually get icebergs sort of coming down as far as New York, because it's a completely different ocean stream. Now, Dave Dees, in his artwork, he never misses an opportunity to introduce chemtrails, because it's a big thing about that he focuses on. And I just want to show you something here, because I was in Peru for 3 weeks. And, this is what the sky looked like at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's what the sky looked like at 9 o'clock. That's what it looked like at 3 o'clock. And just to show you that I was taking different shots, that's what it was like at 9 o'clock in the evening. And then I came back to the UK. That's what it was like at 6 o'clock. That's what it was like at 9 o'clock. That's what it was like at 3 o'clock. And 9 o'clock in the evening. And they try and tell us that it's just aircraft, jet trails. Come on, we've all got new MPs. It's time to test them. It's time to raise this issue with them, because this is how we're being poisoned all the time. So what really happened? What really happened? Well, I'm going to share with you as much as I can based on the information that I've got from my former colleagues in Schlumberger. I was with Schlumberger for 19 years. Now, Schlumberger played a very big part in this, which I'm going to explain to you. But the cementing operation in the well, now you've got to remember that this well was very deep, right? It was 15,000 feet below the seabed and through 5,000 feet of water. So it was really pushing oilfield exploration, production technology to the limit. So all the people on the rig would not have been trainees. That I can absolutely guarantee. The Halliburton crew, who were cementing, put forward their proposal, as you do, to the rig managers, the BP rig, the company men. And the BP company man apparently questioned their proposal, which is unheard of. I mean, nobody questions the recommendations of the cementers, especially very experienced cementers. So Halliburton actually logged the fact that they were not happy with the amended design that was being recommended to them by one of the BP men, although at the moment they haven't specified which one it was. But a lot of people are suspecting, of course, that Halliburton have had a role in this. Just a few days before the well blew, Halliburton acquired a company called Boots & Coots, which is one of the 4 world leaders in wild well control. And that acquisition was completed on April 12th. Now, Schlumberger were on the rig to run what's called the cement bond log. Now, this is to actually test the integrity of the cement in the production well casing. Because obviously the cement has to hold that casing in place to make sure that the geology is protected and that no oil goes up into the geology, which we know is occurring now because that's why oil is seeping out from other places other than the wellhead. Now, the Schlumberger guys arrived on the rig. Now, these guys would have been the best that Schlumberger had because, as I said, this was really state-of-the-art, leading-edge drilling operation. The Schlumberger guys arrived on the rig, and they very quickly sensed that there was a problem, and they stated that the well was kicking. Now, what that means is that the cement isn't holding and that the casing is vibrating. Now, that vibration might be microscopic, but you can sense it, obviously, with the instruments at the surface. So they told the BP company man that the rig was unsafe. The well was kicking, and the well needed to be shut in immediately. Now, I can tell you, nobody argues with Schlumberger. When Schlumberger tell you the rig is unsafe, you say, right, shut it in, now. Because you know that they're not going to call anybody's bluff on this. Anyway, the BP company man refused. So the 2 Schlumberger guys were spooked. And there's 2 stories now, because the official story released by BP is that the Schlumberger guys left the rig at 11 o'clock on the morning of April the 20th on a scheduled helicopter. The word on the grapevine, which hasn't been confirmed by Schlumberger, because Schlumberger are keeping very stum, but the word on the grapevine is that there was no scheduled helicopter, but these guys were so scared about what was likely to happen, they called their manager in New Orleans, and he chartered a helicopter to go to the rig and get them off. You know, people have said, oh, nobody does that. There's no way that would have happened. Let me tell you, if a Schlumberger engineer says that the rig is unsafe, his manager, who will also be an engineer, who will have done exactly the same training as that engineer, would not hesitate to get the helicopter and get them off the rig. It's a wonderful web, and I could spend a couple of hours just talking to you about the web of players involved here. But one is Jamie Gorelick, who was, until very recently, a main board member of Schlumberger. But she's resigned because she is also a board member of BP, because her legal company represents BP. But Jamie Gorelick has a very interesting history. She's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. She's a protege of a guy called John Deutsch, who up until a while ago was also a main board member of Schlumberger. And Jamie Gorelick, her claim to fame was that she was tasked with restricting the information that flowed through to the 9/11 Commission. And eventually Howard Keane and Philip Zelikoff realized that they were getting short-changed and not being privy to all the information, and of course they went public on that. Well, this is the lady that was stemming that flow. She's a player. She's a safe pair of hands. But the BP company men, now these guys, there's 2 guys, they work 12-hour shifts, and these guys are the head honchos on the rig. What these guys say goes. Now, one of the guys was an extremely experienced BP company man, 30 years with BP managing rig operations, Ronald Sepulvado. But 4 days before the blowout, he was taken off the rig to go on a course, and the course was ostensibly to learn how to operate the BOP, the blowout protector, that has been installed on the seabed. So he was replaced on April the 16th by a guy called Bob KALUZA. Now, it just goes to show you the power of BP, or whomever, with Google, because every photograph of Bob KALUZA and his counterpart, Donald Vadrine, have been removed from the web. Because I can tell you that 10 days ago there were photographs of them, now there's nothing. You could search for hours and find nothing. So Bob KALUZA,
When he appeared before the Congressional Inquiry, he pleaded the Fifth Amendment.